Welcome to the Face-to-Face Ministries podcast, the #1 resource for learning what it means to have a healed heart, connect more deeply with Jesus, and experience true and lasting transformation in your life. I am one of your hosts, Melinda Wilson.
And I'm your other host, Kathy Little. Please hit subscribe so you don't miss any of the fresh content that we're continuing to release. And while you're at it, we greatly appreciate your help in getting the word out by giving us a 5-star rating and leaving us a quick review.
You can also keep up with us by following our social media by searching face2faceministries.org on Facebook, and that has no spaces, no numbers, and no caps, and on Instagram at face2facemin, and that is all one word.
Our team also offers one-on-one ministry sessions that can be done virtually. And one of our favorite things to do is to train others to do what we do in helping others connect with Jesus. So if you want information on that, we can help you out.
Yeah, and for more information about all the resources, including what Kathy's talking about, our trainings, our events that we offer, visit face2faceministries.org. And while you're there, please sign up for our newsletter.
All right, let's dive into today's episode. Hey, everybody. You're getting us real and raw. We just got back from leading our 41st Dash Away weekend in Moravian Falls. Had 15 ladies there. It was amazing. And we're excited about what God's doing with Face to Face. We're glad you guys are following us and being part of the podcast. And we got a really special guest for you guys. Actually, 2 guests. Some of our favorite people from the UK. Melinda, why don't you introduce them?
Yeah, we have Mike and Ruth Jones, and Mike is English and Ruth is Northern Irish. So you get those amazing, beautiful accents.
Love it, love it.
Could listen to them all day. But we'll let them share who they are, but they are so gifted, and you're going to want to meet them, and you actually can.
Yeah, I can meet
after you listen to this episode.
All right, you guys. And hey, we only have like 4 spots left for you ladies for Dash Away Lake Tahoe. Might be a good time to grab those spots because they're going to sell out. All right, thanks for listening, y'all. We're glad you're here.
Thanks all.
Welcome to Ruth and Mike Jones from all the way across the pond, our beloveds over in England.
Hi, good to see you.
Hi, guys.
Good to be here.
Oh, man, we just got to see these guys in person not too long ago. Went out on the Chesapeake Bay together in our friend's sailboat and got to spend the weekend with you guys while you were here stateside. And thank you so much for coming in here. You guys are doing some really cool work over in Luton, and we just wanted to introduce our podcast family to what you guys are doing. But how's it going over there? How's the weather?
It's come on. You know, there's a storm just about to land. So it's arrived in Ireland and it's on its way over to England. So hopefully we'll just get in there before it goes
There we
mad.
go. That's good to be with you guys too. We love y'all so much and excited about what you guys are doing. But tell us a little bit about yourselves. Introduce yourselves and what each of you.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, you start, huh?
Okay.
No, I said it's good to see you face to face. So rather than last the other week, so it's really nice to see you again.
I wish we could be there though.
Yeah.
Face to face.
I know. Wouldn't it be nice?
This is great.
Do it in person.
Yeah.
Oh.
Time travel.
So tell us about you. Yeah.
Yes, I'm Ruth. I'm from Northern Ireland originally, and I live in Luton. Married to Mike here. We've got 2 grown-up kids and 1 married. Alex, our daughter's married to Jean from South Africa, and we've got our first granddaughter called Mila. Woo! So yes, that's a new aspect of life that's happened. But I'm an inner healing minister. Particularly, I'm a heart sync minister. Qualified heart sync minister, and I'm also a coach with Joy Skills, which is a ministry that Mike and I do. So that's the current situation. I'm also married to Mike, who's a vicar. So that makes me a vicar's wife.
You mean a different Mike, Ruth? Because you said I'm also married to Mike, who's the vicar. So is this a different Mike? And
It's a different part.
Mike the vicar and Mike the missionary, Mike the...
Exactly.
Yes. So that's the shortened version.
Okay, so I'm Mike. So I'm a vicar and also a coach. And it's a bit different to what you might imagine. So story from Sunday we live in a very multicultural town with lots of people from lots of different backgrounds. And on Sunday morning, I was looking at and talking to Shafayat, who's come to faith from a Muslim background. Then I went and had coffee. And in the coffee, I talked to a lady, and she said, "Oh, I'm like, where are you from?" And she says, "I'm from Sri Lanka." And I said, "Okay, what faith background are you from?" And she said, like, "I'm a Buddhist." So we got to talk about God and Buddhism and Jesus for 10 minutes. And we did the service. And then the end of the service, a guy comes up and says, "I brought my friend here," and introduces his friend. He's like, yeah, I want to find out about Jesus. I'm a Hindu. And so I pray for this guy at the end of the service for the Lord to come and meet with him. And like the church is full of Christians too. But like on Sunday morning, I had a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Hindu, lots of other people. And it's just this joyous place to see God work. Yeah. And then on the other side of things, I'm also a coach who helps leaders and enables leaders through coaching, helping them have joyful lives and healthy relationships. And so I pray heart sync and all sorts of things with leaders too. So I've kind of got both sides, which means that I understand people in ministry and the pressures of that and how to keep our connection with God during that.
Yeah, we've both been in ministry for a long time. We met training to be missionaries back in our 20s. I'd already been a teacher and Mike had been in finance. So we've got a missionary background, trained in it. We lived in Greece for 5 years, church planting. So we love other cultures. We feel very at home where church is people from every nationality and nation. So that's one of the things we love about being here in Luton, because that's what we have here. Like Mike has expressed on Sunday, it was Sunday, it was Pentecost, obviously sharing the gospel to people from different countries. And that's every Sunday. In a sense, we don't know who's going to turn up, who's going to walk through the door, and where they've flown in from or wherever. So it's a real taste of heaven to worship in that variety of culture.
I would be at your church if it makes me want to move over there, because that wouldn't take much convincing for me.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Spare room
but
here.
That is, oh man. I mean, you do have room, you told me. But that's my dream. That is my dream church. I was part of a church like that in London, where there was only like 50 people that went, but there was 26 different countries represented. And that is like, oh, we mean Jesus wants to hang out with not other people than Christians?
Yeah.
Huh. But that might come as a shock to a lot of people. Like, oh no, he only meets with us at the church, the good Christians. And I'm not trying to make fun of anybody, but I think that can be interesting to some people. That you said, and you just said, a lot of people, you don't know who's going to come into your door. So what is drawing people from Sri Lanka or from a Hindu background into your church through your doors? Why are they coming?
Yeah.
Good question.
I mean, this is a good question. I mean, there's a lot of answers to that. So one of those guys was invited by a friend. Another guy, I was at home. I was due to go to a pastor's meeting, and I felt don't go to the pastor's meeting. Go to church at this particular time. That I'm not normally there, and we've been praying for people in their 20s, 30s. And I got to church, and I was talking to my administrator about that, and there was a knock at the door. And I go to the door, and it's right in the town centre, so the door's locked because of the various complications of being in the town centre. And the guy at the door goes, "I need to talk to the priest. I need to talk to the priest." So I invite him in, and he comes in, and I say, "Hi, I'm Mike. I'm the vicar. It's the priest." And he says, "Hello, my name is Shafayat. I'm a Muslim. I want to become a Christian." And so the Lord had laid it on him. The Lord does tug people into the church, and so for some people they're wandering in because they're tourists, and then people are friendly to them. Other people are invited. Other people the Lord draws, and it's a real privilege. It's a real privilege to be here, but it's also chaotic. Yeah. Because it's just you don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I think another thing that draws them is that our building is how old now?
900 years
old. So we are right in the centre of a town with this really old, beautiful building. Looks like a cathedral. and it's Sundays, it's open, so people just walk in. Ooh, can we go in? Can we go in? And wander around with the cameras. So we have to, you know, there's always someone taking photos afterwards, and they're not white British. We're also close to an international airport. So it's just a transient feel to it. But I think also because it's an old building, it's like it's assumed that it's a traditional church. So for some people, if they come from maybe India, there are a lot of traditional Christians there, traditional Christians in many different sort of continents. And it's a kind of a safe thing to just let's walk through and have a look. And it might be interesting. So it's I think it feels probably safe.
Yeah. Well, you guys are doing some things. You're doing some things a little out of the box, though, because of. I'd love to hear some of that and let our listeners and viewers hear about that, because you guys are incorporating some of the brain science stuff, some of the relational skills, some of the things that we're also training and teaching others in with the Emmanuel approach. And what you guys do is similar. We're kind of all in the same family, so to speak, but would love to hear how you're implementing some of those things that are outside of the box of what you might traditionally think of a church.
Yeah, I mean, there's really out of the box, which I'll talk about, which even we were talking about something new today, and out of the box. So, I mean, our lives were completely changed by an overlapping between the life model, which is kind of all the relational brain skills, and heart sync. And so we sit between those two movements, and we're often helping people who've done life model, but they've kind of reached a plateau, and then do heart sync. And other people who've done heart sync, but they feel, oh, that's worked, but I need to work on my capacity levels.
I don't have enough.
So we do that. But so maybe if I mention, but at church, I brought those things into everything. I brought them into my team. I brought them into my church services. I brought it into the way I lead things. We've taken it out into the community. So our town is really conflicted over the Israel-Gaza crisis. We've got a high Muslim population, and we've got others too. And so the churches are affected by that. You know, some people think one way, some people think another. And so we actually facilitate conversations on that, because in our particular situation, that actually has got quite a high possibility of having big effects in town. So my job in the room is to help the room regulate itself and to be at peace while we talk about some of the difficult things that divide folks. So you've got that kind of thing. And then Ruth does an awful lot of ministry too, in completely different ways.
Yeah. So. I think, well, it all kind of came about through our journey of getting healed from trauma and how we were struggling with trauma and its effects. And so we had to put into practice. We came across the life model, had to put it into practice. We thought, wow, this is changing us as we're doing these daily shifts on choosing gratitude, on going into appreciation. And I had a background of getting well from chronic fatigue by retraining my brain in 28 days to get well. So when we started to understand, well, hold a minute, all this trauma is over here on the right side. And here are tools to build what I didn't have, what the calm and the joy I never had. I didn't know how to get there. And it all made complete sense. So we then lived it out in our home life, in our marriage, in our friendships, in our family, and out through church. And what happened was, so we had groups going where we would train them for about 8 weeks on these relational brain skills, starting to overlap a little bit of the content of heart sync as well, just a little bit. And then COVID happened. With COVID, then everyone's freaking out, scared of walking in the supermarket. Ooh, you're too close. Ooh, this kind of stuff going on. Ooh, all this fear everywhere. Everyone anxious, kids anxious, everyone. And then we thought, oh, goodness me, I think we could actually focus a bit on calming skills. Get maybe put together a video or content and get that out and help people learn how to calm. That was particularly one of my struggles, and that I've really made progress in. So we wanted to help people build their baseline calm, so then they could build joy. So we videoed a calming course, and the content of that we then use in other situations. So, for example, we have there's a local exercise group, Body and Soul, at a church. Asked me to do a calming series. So we're learning about breathing. We're doing gratitude, appreciation, even a manual prayer, as you all know as well. And they then are doing that. Some of them are teachers, and then they're bringing that into their school. Oh, I taught my kid, I taught these kids some breathing, and they've been doing it, and they're doing it at their home. So it was so practical, being the outworking of how it's just so beneficial to be able to calm. We also have, I particularly do coaching, one-on-one coaching. Like, for example, an older lady who has a husband who's, she's in her 80s, and her husband's got dementia, and he's about to be he's been put in respite, and she's on her own. Well, she's lost. What do I do? I want joy. I don't, this is awful. So she then would spend time with me each week, and we would look at how she can build joy. And she'd never heard of a lot of these things. She's been, anyway, yeah, so that's been beautiful to watch that. Other people, like a drugs rehab ministry, and the leader is working her heart out, amazing Christian ministry, but exhausted, hears about us through a Christian conference. And then she herself is just getting so much, it's like life-changing, she says, connecting with how to, again, build gratitude and joy and peace. Practically, and how that then I'm helping her practice these skills. She's meeting Jesus, she's getting more peace, more joy, and it's out working in her team. So we're about this, we have to do it ourselves. We don't just take these things and, oh, you all do that and teach someone else. No, we have to go through this ourselves. So she then is looking to do this with her team. She's starting practicing being relational with her team, helping them be relational, because the addicts need the relationality and the synchronizing. So it's just beautiful. We just love doing this stuff. It's just quite hard that people don't realize how simple it is, but how impactful it is in our relationships. So, but that is absolute joy to teach people on that journey, to build their capacity.
It does sound incredibly practical, because we don't realize what we don't know, and we're entrenched in patterns and habits and defaults that we don't even know why we have them. Exactly. And some of it's just picked up along the way, and some of it is reinforced by external things, but we don't even know that there actually is a way to get out of the rut and start a new path. And then the more you walk on the new path, the more well-worn it becomes, and it can turn into your default.
Yeah.
And I just, on a personal note, I just got back from the chiropractor, but they are working as close with the structure as with the nervous system. And I'm not going to go, I'm getting a huge tutorial on the nervous system, but basically we know this, like if we have something out of whack in our structure, then our body then adapts to that out of whackness. And then that becomes the new normal. And we don't know that that's actually living out of a place of like the sympathetic nervous system, or we're living desynchronized within our own nervous system, but we've adapted to this new normal, but it's not normal at all. It's not the way that we're designed. And it's the same with this.
And
I think a lot of, well, a lot of people don't even know that they're, like Kathy was saying, that you go to the chiropractor or doctor, get x-rays, and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this, all these things were out of whack. And this is why I've got this. And you see all these correlations, and it's, it's the same with internally, and you actually can't disconnect the nervous system. You're talking about calming. It's totally to do with the body as well. This isn't just this ethereal, like, I feel good and relaxed now, I'm in Zen. I mean, how is it affecting our body? And Ruth, I'm just wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing, just, you said, something extremely powerful, and you've shared more with me, but you had chronic fatigue, and you rewired your neural pathways. Can you just share a little bit of your story there? Would you mind?
No, that's fine. Is it on that how I got well from it that you're interested
Yeah,
in?
like that could give a lot of people hope, because that can be those chronic things people have had, their fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue. I can't tell you how many people I've met that have chronic fatigue, like for decades.
Yeah.
Just to give some,
and it was so big. This is a massive change.
16 years I had it, and I tried everything. And it was amazing. I mean, it was obviously a painful journey from everyone on it, the most frustrating journey. But the amazing thing was that the way I got well was through something called the lightning process, which is a form of self-coaching and neuro-linguistic programming, where I'm going to train and build new pathways in my brain to get the energy. So it was like God, my issues of being, in a sense, powerless in my life, victim, all stuff had happened. Here comes God, and he says, Ruth, you can have the tools to get well. You can make choices for you to be well. I'm right with you. And here they are. So I had 3 days training. You go for 3 days training. And basically the thing is, very little is showing up in our bloods that something's wrong. So what is wrong? How come I feel so tired and yet I have the same access to energy that everyone else does? So where's the energy going? And basically the energy's going by living from the pit. That's how they would describe it. I just immediately, something triggered in my brain. Oh, I'm useless. Oh, I'm rubbish. Oh, it's not going to work. Oh, it's all going to go wrong. Oh, I'm so tired. Oh, all the stuff that puts me in a nanosecond right to the pit. So what we did was then, what if we didn't have to go to the pit? We're experts in it. Anyone with, expert. We do it so well. So well.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm sure then, what if we did the other so well and find the life God had for us, or the life we want? So the process, we worked out all our triggers, all the things send us to the pit. And for each thing that sent us to the pit, we made a little coaching process lasting 30 seconds instead of continuing going there, we're going to stop and we're going to imagine and remember what it was like when we had the opposite of that, what we actually want instead. So instead of tiredness, I want energy. Instead of rejection, I want acceptance and love. And we use memories of when we had received those good things already, or even experiences of God where we actually felt it. And by doing that every day, catching, preparing, and being treated by our family as if nothing was wrong. That was the key. No one keeping us in victim. No, we're normal. In 28 days, I was back to normal. I mean, even in the first day, I stopped my afternoon sleep, which I'd been going for 16 years.
Wow,
and
that's amazing.
Every 5 minutes, you're retraining. Every 5 minutes, first 2 weeks. Every 10 minutes, catch it, do it. Catch it, do it. And then something starts to shift, and you don't need to do it as much, and then the energy returns, and it's wonderful. So what a blessing to go through the power that God gives us by taking our thoughts captive.
Yeah, it is transforming your mind, right?
Well, and two, it takes you out of victim of like, I bet you got prayed for a lot over the years, and not that prayer doesn't heal, but when I'm just pray for her, and then she walks away the same, then it's almost like we go into a victim. I don't know if you ever felt like that. And it makes you feel even more powerless. Like, I had the big guns praying for me and nothing happened. But you're in this state of like, someone has to pray for me to get healed. And yet it's like, God, you were saying God showed you actually have the power and the tools within you. It's just then applying them. And that's huge. Absolutely huge.
Yeah. You guys had mentioned both of you are certified in HeartSync model. We've interviewed Bishop Andrew Miller, who is the founder of that model. So if anybody wants more detail about the HeartSync model, you can reflect back into season 1 of our podcast and hear the interview with the founder himself. But I'm wondering if, just for the sake of orientation for somebody that may have never heard of it, if you have a little concise description of what that model looks like. Obviously, we do a manual approach. We're focused on that. This is another tool in the tool belt that has some intentionality in some places. So just wondering if you could give a short synopsis of what it is that you guys do. What are your tool set for inner healing?
Sure. Yeah. And it starts off, the way that we do HeartSync is, it's really based around how a part of me feels this, part of me feels that. I've lived my life, part of me feels this and that. And they never talk to each other. And one of them may not actually know God. Interesting. So what we do is they've identified about 4 core parts to our personality or our heart. And it's about then those 4 parts, which are kind of correlated also to brain levels, quite similar to the different levels of the brain, as you know. And it's about each part being able to have a voice and be heard then and synchronized with. And the one leading, like ourselves, will give your permission to speak and to get to know you. And then we move to the different parts of us being able to communicate together and let each other know what you think and feel about each other. And when it's right, then meeting Jesus is the key point. And we start with it. We use a manual to begin with, and in having a divine encounter where those parts and whoever feels safe can be there. And so as those parts are safe and move on and are known, then at the right points, Jesus can just release them from the trauma and the pain that they've been hiding in. Wow. So that's a very, very simple part.
So let me give you a story, because it helps to be people may go, what do you mean?
I know you're yes, got to tell a story.
So like, I've got a good friend of mine, and she'll be like, she has a really difficult life, and she'll be like, oh, it's just terrible and it's awful, and her head's gone down and she's really sad, and that might be a minute or it might be 20 minutes, and then she'll go, wait, I need to get on, and I'm going to go, and she moves from this sad part, and you can watch her change, and she goes off and becomes zip, 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 and so you can see actually she's operating from a different part of her brain. And you may go, well, you never do that. But then if you drive a car, if you're like me, you're driving a car all serenely and someone cuts up in front of you and you go, what are you doing? And you've gone from this serene part of you into this reactive part of you. And those are kind of the 4 parts. You've got the emotional part and the get on with it part, the serene and happy part, and then the reactionary part. And actually, when you start noticing it, you go, oh, my family have been right all along. You know, when they've been telling me I go grumpy, or they've been telling me, you know, I'm happy. And what we then find is that actually when we come in those parts to Jesus, he wants to meet with us in those different modes and those different beings. And healing comes as each of those meets with Jesus, and the different pains that we have are kind of drawn by Jesus and healed by Jesus. And we've both found that like it begins very much like Emmanuel. So it begins with appreciation, and they've really drawn from the whole Emmanuel movement and Carl and what Carl teaches. And so really you kind of take Emmanuel, and then instead of having to tell the story or kind of go into painful memories, it kind of just takes a slightly different approach, and you don't have to do that. And it's kind of talking to those different bits. So it's really helped me. I had post-traumatic stress disorder. I came back from a near-death experience. And what happened to me was like secular therapy helped me about 1/3. Then the kind of life model skills that we train people in helped me about 1/3. And then the Lord gave me a vision, and then led me to HeartSync. And then that kind of healed me of the final the final third. So for us, Emmanuel and the life model and Heartsing beautifully work in with each other, which is why we love working with you guys.
Yeah, one of the core parts is our guard part, and it's a guard part is so important. It's like our level 2 of the brain. We're protecting Ruth, protecting her, and often many of us live all the time from guardian part because we're actually trying to protect painful emotions that are in another part. And so these were my key areas, and my key breakthroughs also came through Heartsing. Whenever particularly my fear and my deep abandonment and pain was met and released and healed. I actually was healed of panic attacks through fear and anger. The two things I lived my life from those parts, being ready to meet Jesus. And when they were, it was like a rebirth, is all I can say. It was the most amazing thing ever. So number of things like that. But the labeling of the parts I find really helpful because it's so easy to switch in and out and not realize what we're doing, who we are, and that those parts may not even know Jesus yet. Never mind be released from the pain that they're feeling. So it's a wonderful ministry, very fruitful and powerful.
Well, before we wrap up, Mike, remember you telling a story of the gentleman, I believe, that you were able to kind of bring to calm. And I know you shared it at a conference you were at in Virginia a few weeks ago. And I'm just wondering, because that's back to what you guys do with Joy Skills. And we love to hear a story. Like, how does all this work? So would you just share a story of that gentleman, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'd love to share a story. So I was meeting with him today, actually. So what we often find is when we come to faith and our lives change, but we reach some kind of plateau. So I was meeting with this guy today. So what it is like many of us, we come to faith and I've got a guy in my church who come to a really beautiful and radical faith. And he started coming to church and he was baptized. But there was some things happening in his life where someone he loved had to go away. And what we didn't know was that he then turned to alcohol. And he'd been born again. He'd changed. He'd done everything that he knew what to do. But actually, when the one he loved left, he had such attachment pain that he turned to alcohol, his beep, his kind of thing to medicate his pain. And when we found out about this, we kind of talked it through with him and we said, okay, we can help, we can do an intervention. And so then the next time this situation happened, we planned ahead. And so he came in and we would do some of the life model skills, and they would be around appreciation, calming, finding joy, and eye contact. And so to really root it, there was one day we'd been doing this and it was making a difference. He was just saying to me, like, his life today, my life is just completely different with this. And he came in about 2 weeks into this situation where his fiance was away abroad and he couldn't really cope with that. And as I came in, he was in the room and his face was sad. And he was at that point where someone's likely to turn to whatever soothes their pain. And so we sat down. And so I got him to go on a thing from 0 to 9, where 9 is like the end of life kind of stuff. Where are you on sadness? And he's like, I'm at 7. And where are you on joy? And he was like 0. And we did some time in appreciation, which is one of the life model skills. And, it's at the beginning of Emmanuel prayer. And we did, I spent some time in appreciation and got him to remember some things he was happy with, and he met with Jesus. And at the end of this prayer time, I'm like, where are you on sadness? He was 7 and he was 0. And where are you on joy? He was at 7. And he looked at me and he went, Flip, this works. That is crazy. He couldn't believe that he himself could experience that joy. He couldn't believe that in 25 minutes, he could come in wanting to turn to the bottle. And when he turned to the bottle, he would go on a 10-day bender or 5-day bender. That actually, that pain had been replaced in 25 minutes of doing appreciation, spending time with Jesus. And that has lasted through the last 50 days or so, that he's like, I haven't needed to touch. Haven't needed to touch something to drink. So this stuff really works. You can see it in his face. You can see it in his life. His fiance is just devastatingly joyful that she didn't know what was going to happen. And so we say this works for, any of us who've got things going on, but it also works for leaders. I would mention, like, leaders often don't have anyone we can copy, because we're the leader of the church. And like, if we've got pain, we've often got no one we can talk to. So actually, this also works for leaders, that actually we've got stuff that we can talk with, and so it's really valuable for leaders too.
There's one of the things that we had to work out at the beginning of doing our joy skills training in the UK was we were trying to translate stuff from an American culture into UK and Europe. And what we realized that one of the key things at the beginning is doing a check-in. And we changed it. A check-in is notice and name. Notice and name my emotions and my feelings.
Because the English don't
do it.
We can't do it.
No, haven't a clue what emotion they're feeling. No idea. Just woo. So helping people, we had to devise a card with all these emotions all over them, kinds, levels, heights, descriptions, and they would choose. Oh, I think it's that one.
Yeah.
But,
so just to say, like, men would have like off, no emotions, to on, anger, or off, no emotions, so on, sex. That's basically the things they had on their list to start with, because they couldn't notice any emotions. So
just that. So if we can't notice, if we don't notice that there's something not going on or going on, well, then we never move forward. So the starting point is noticing my body, noticing my emotions, to be able to work out what we're going to do and put things into practice. And I do remember that in COVID, having online Zoom meetings with teams, which we still do to an extent, goes on. And I'm on an international healing team, and we were doing our UK team meeting, and I was leading I just wanted to lead the team in some of the joy skills, because what you're sitting there on screen, one person or two talks the whole time, and then everyone else sits there. And that's the general way that a lot of Zoom meetings work. So just by saying, right, let's have a little notice and name, I'd like everyone to tell me 2 things they're feeling. And then after that, we would do some gratitude. Each one would do gratitude. Well, when we give everyone that little space to just check in with 2 emotions, our mouths hung open, because people were sharing simply 2 emotions. We had no idea they were in that place. No idea that it was that difficult. And if we hadn't given the opportunity just for everyone to say those 2 things, we then wouldn't have known what was going on in the room, and therefore how to proceed and how to pray as well and support. So that's our starting point always. And we just find it very valuable, especially here in UK and Northern Europe, where things are different.
So good. Well, man, I know we could talk for a lot longer, but we are kind of at the end of our time here for now. And I know we can call you anytime and take another round. We'll just do another conversation down the way. So love what you guys are doing over there. And we do want to mention, just kind of casually slide in here at the end, you guys have just had an opportunity to meet both Mike and Ruth. And Ruth is actually sliding into our available prayer ministers on our website. So if you guys want to do some of this joy skills coaching, which might be really good for people that need a starting point to even have capacity to move forward in an inner healing journey. So she's going to be doing that. And then also some heart sync sessions as well. But we're in the process of onboarding her right now and looking forward to adding her in addition to our existing prayer ministers, and think it's going to be a great addition, because we love it. The Emmanuel approach, you guys are utilizing portions of the Emmanuel approach, but there are different tools. Yeah. And sometimes it's not a one size fits all thing. And so we're happy to provide a little bit different approach by inviting Ruth to come on board. We're asking Mike too, but he's a little busy as a vicar right now, but he's also certified and certifiable. No, you're certified in heart safety.
In the future, next summer, in the summer.
Yeah, whenever you have spare time, But thank you guys so much for what you're doing, what you're carrying there in Luton and England in general. I know you guys have quite a bit of influence in what you're doing. You're kind of paving the way and plowing some field for others to learn from you. And so thank you for doing that and for being our guest today. And Ruth, thank you for being willing to step in and offer the beautiful gift of you and what you carry to the folks that come through our website. And I'll put the website up there, facetofaceministries.org/healing, and you can find Ruth there.
Well, everyone's going to be flocking to her because to hear her accent.
It's her accent.
that may just heal people right there.
Love you guys. It's great to be here.
Yeah. What did you say? So
I said your accent may just heal people. Like you don't even need to do anything, just talk. And it's like, I feel better already.
Thanks, you guys.
The Irish.
Yeah, great to see you. Great to be with you. Love you guys. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. This is a listener-supported podcast, and if you have received value in any way from our content, we would truly appreciate you to partner with us financially, and you can do that by going to our website, facetofaceministries.org/give for tax-deductible giving. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.